With the current meta becoming quite stale as Kai'Sa with Morelos is considered the #1 carry.
No? Kai'Sa 2? Kai'Sa? Kai'Sa? Kai'Sa! Yes! Kai'Sa! Kai'Sa! Kai'Sa!
Patch 12.1 seems to shake things up a little bit. Let's dive into the patch notes and see what it has to offer. Welcome! It's your friendly neighborhood Badger here, and I'm back to talk about teamfight tactics. As of today, patch 12.1 notes have been released, and today we're going to do a really big deep dive into these notes, talk about meta predictions, meta analysis, what I think might be a little bit underrated now coming into the 12.1 patch, and what I think might not have been nerfed enough. Without further ado, we're going to jump right into it, but right before we do, if you do enjoy TFT content, I am hoping to upload a lot more to this channel as well, so hit that subscribe button down there below, and come watch me live at twitch.tv/thisisbadger. I'd love to see you there. Anyway, let's jump right into it, shall we? So, right off the bat, we can see the usual infographic that the Teamfight Tactics team give to us, really highlighting the general buffs and nerfs and adjustments coming through. So we can see there's quite a few buffs coming through to things that have not necessarily performed amazingly in the past, like Imperial, Innovator, and Yordle, with some actual units of Swain and Seraphine getting a little bit of a buff. One of my favorite augments of Ardent Sensor is getting a buff there as well, but it's never really performed well, so we'll have to see whether that's actually going to be a good buff or not. Makeshift Armor is getting a buff, which I think is a little bit strange, as this is already quite powerful. Woodland Charm does need a buff there as well, and Spellblade has never really been in the great position, in a really, really good position. Then finishing off with Rapid Fire Cannon and ZZ Rot. Chemtech adjustment, Malzahar adjustment, some trait-linked augments, quite a bit of adjustments with those ones, and Sunfire Cape adjustment there. And the big nerfs coming through are what everyone expected. Things like Socialite, Galio, Kai'Sa, of course. Urgot, he's always been a really, really strong Chemtech 5 unit with good items. Tahm Kench with the nerf, and Caitlyn with the nerf as well, as probably one of the most powerful one-cost units. Ascension with a little bit of a nerf, some Cybernetic Implants nerfs, Duet Health nerf, Stand United nerfs, Sunfire Board nerf, Guardian Angel, Morelos, as we knew was coming as well, and another rework to Lifelong Learning. This one has never really hit the mark, so we'll see if this is going to be a little bit better here. We'll jump first into the large changes. Large like the goals of my New Year's resolutions, it says here. So along with the drastic changes we gave trait-linked augments in patch 11.24, we've made a few more quality of life improvements to add. So basically, what they're doing is just shifting around the power of some of the more powerful kind of trait augments, giving them less powerful units, and the less powerful trait augments, giving them more powerful units. So you can see this in things like a Challenger Heart granting a Quinn instead of a Warwick. This is actually going to be quite nice if you are needing that extra mercenary unit for, going mercenaries really early. So if you hit this on your first augment, you hit a Challenger Heart, you could actually pick up Quinn, and if you, lucky randomed a Misfortune or a Gangplank from the creep rounds, then, hey, Quinn could be really nice from a Challenger Heart right there. Protector Heart no longer grants a Blitzcrank. We can all agree that Protector Heart was pretty strong. Scholar Heart got nerfed from a Lysandra to a Zyra, and Scrap Heart also got nerfed from an Echo to a Blitzcrank right there. Twin Shot now also grants a Cogmore instead of Graves, and Assassin's Crest now grants a Talon instead of an Echo. Arcanist Crest now grants a Swain. Challenger Crest, as stated right up here, the same as Heart, grants a Quinn. Chemtech now grants a Warwick instead of a Zac. Imperial Crest now grants a Swain instead of a Talon, and Mutant Crest no longer grants a Cogmore. And then once again, the Scrap grants a Blitzcrank instead of an Echo right there. Now, Ardent Sensor, as stated before, has received a buff from a 40% to a 50% attack speed bonus. So this is effectively a 25% increase to its power. 25% more attack speed per tick every 4 seconds right there. So it's still going to be a very situational pickup for this, but if you do find yourself hitting 4 enchanters really easy, maybe with an Enchanter Heart or Enchanter Soul or something like that, 4 or 5, then also picking up Ardent Sensor may be really good if you have a nice frontline Ascension damage amplification has been nerfed once again from 65 to 50%. That's 2 nerfs in a row from 75% all the way to 50% here. However, I still think Ascension is going to be really powerful. It's one of those picks that you take on most comps. Any sort of stall comp, any sort of comp that has a respectable frontline, Ascension is just very good still. Cybernetic Implants is getting nerfed here as well, as you can see, on all stages, from 200 to 150 at stage 1, from 300 to 250 at gold, and from 400 to 350 at prismatic right there as well. And the duet bonus health has been nerfed by 20% from 500 to 400. Now, I will also just, it's probably a little bit small there for you, so let me just buff this up right here. The last thing, there's a couple of other last things here for the major changes, but lifelong learning has been reworked again, and now guaranteed grants 2 scholars 2 ability power after each combat, and an additional 2 ability power if they survive combat. So this just means that if you are being unlucky or lose streaking or something like that, but you do have lifelong learning, you're not just completely missing out and basically have 0 augments right there. It is going to give your scholars a little bit of ability power, which could turn out to be, the game changer in the end game right there. Makeshift armor is actually being increased a fair amount, and at prismatic, it's quite strong. So it goes from 30, 45, 60 at silver gold prismatic to 35, 55, 75 at silver gold prismatic right there as well. And Death's Defiance from the Portable Forge is getting a 20% Omnivamp increase, which is very, very strong. Omnivamp is going to be quite strong for a lot of champions there. Another increase to the Spellblade Empowered Attack Ability Power Scaling from 200% to 225%. And Stand United attack damage is getting nerfed at the silver and gold augment stages from 3 and 4 to 2 and 3. Sunfire Board is getting that's a 20% nerf to the burn from 20% to 16%. And Woodland Charm, a small health upgrade for the copy of your highest health unit. Now, there are a couple of changes coming to traits themselves. So first of all, they talk about Imperial comps. They seek to load up a carry with items and then have them 1v9, but currently the trait is falling short. So the buffs take the most powerful use case of the trait, amplifying the multiplicative stats, and amps it up even more. Chemtech's getting a little bit of a buff, Socialite 2 is getting quite a nerf, and Yordle 3, Yordles in particular are getting a little bit of a change to them there as well. So first of all, Chemtech is, in most cases getting a buff and a small damage reduction percentage nerf, going from 25 to 20% damage reduction. But the health regen on most stages, at stage 5, 7, and 9 is going up. Chemtech attack speed at all stages, apart from stage 5, at 5 Chemtechs, is going up as well. And for Imperials, the bonus damage at both stages is going up. This is going to mean that Imperial will probably see a little bit more play. I don't think it's going to be overpowered just because of how the meta still shapes out. And I'll talk about that in a little bit, the meta at the end of all of this. But Imperial could see some use in certain edge cases here. I still see Samira doing quite well if you do have perfect items. If you don't have perfect items, probably not as well. Now, the Innovator is getting buffed at Innovator 5 with the Mechanical Bear. So the base health is being increased by 100, and the armor and magic resistance being increased by 10. Socialite 2 mana regen per second is getting heavily nerfed almost by half from 5 to 3. This is going to mean that hitting Socialite 2 is not really going to make a huge difference to your carry, but it is still going to be giving a little bit of mana regen per second for your carries right there if you do have them on the Socialite square. However, this is one thing that slipped through, is the Syndicate 7 bonus amplification from 33 to 50%. Now, Syndicate already is in quite a good space. If you do get any sort of Syndicate Heart, or Syndicate Crest, or even a Syndicate Soul, if you can get to that, Syndicate 7 is going to be extremely powerful, and I do foresee that primary carry either Akali or Shaco, and then secondary carry either Akali or Shaco, Assassin Syndicate 7 is going to be taking over the meta, because it already has shown itself in the meta quite a few times and is a very forcible comp. I do think that this bonus is going to mean that this is going to be extremely strong. For Yordles, the 1-cost spawn odds are going from 60% to 70%, and the 2 costs are going from 25 to 20, and the 3 costs are going from 15 to 10. This is just going to mean that 3-starring your 1 cost is going to happen more often, and 3-starring your 2 and 3 costs is going to happen a little bit slower, but it is going to be more in the progression of 1 cost 3 stars, 2 cost 3 stars, and then 3 cost 3 stars right there. However, the Yordle 6 mana reduction goes from 20% to 25%, which, when looking at some of the numbers, this is some pretty good breakpoints for some of the champions right there. Meaning that some of them are going to have to auto 1 less time to be able to cast their ultimate ability. Quickly browsing over the champions, I'm not going to go into all the numbers, but I'm going to talk about the nerfs and the buffs. Caitlyn, Ace in the Hole damage, is getting a nerf. Swain is getting a max mana buff, and damage healing buff as well there for tier 2. In tier 3, we're seeing Heimerdinger attack range going from 3 to 4, meaning that he can effectively be on the back line and not needing to sit on the second line, a second back line or anything like that. And Malzahar's spell damage is getting a buff both at 1-star and 3-star, with 2-star staying about the same. In tier 4, we're getting a max mana buff from Seraphine, starting 80 to 160, which goes down to 80, 150. The Encore damage and healing is also getting a buff at all stages for Seraphine, but Urgot is now getting quite the nerf to his Purge, now counting as a basic attack every second shot, which is now going to every third shot right there. So that's actually quite a bit of a nerf to his basic attack from his Purge. Lastly, with our tier 5 champions right here, Kai'Sa has been dominating everything over the past couple of weeks. We'll have a look at the nerfs there, but Galio also as the Clapio version of Galio has been pretty strong as well, and 3-star Tahm Kench is getting a little bit of a surprise increase. So Galio's crit strike slam bonus damage is going from 80, 125 to 70, 100 right here. So 1-star, 2-star getting a little bit of a nerf. And the Colossal Entrance base stun duration is also getting a little bit of a nerf at 1-star right there as well. Now, Kai'Sa is getting a 50 health nerf, a damage per missile down at 1-star and 2-star, but 3-star, staying the same. And a starting mana nerf right there as well. So this is going to mean her first cast is going to take a little bit longer to get going. The damage is going to be a little bit lower, and she's going to be a bit squishier. This with a couple of the item changes as well, could mean that Kai'Sa, instead takes Tahm Kench's seat on the bench, and Tahm Kench does get unbenched right here, as you can see. Well, the damage reduction from Tahm Kench's Devour is lowered, so there is a very real nerf right there. However, Tahm Kench at 3 stars will now gain 20 times the usual stats when fed an allied unit. This basically means I think Tahm Kench 3-star is potentially one of the strongest, or at least the funnest 5-cost 3-star that we're going to see now. There's going to be some pretty funny plays coming out of maybe some Mercenary 5, Mercenary 7 comps that cash out really well into a 3-star Kench if they get a lot of Nico's help, and basically just dealing, 100,000 damage to each of the units on the board and giving you a ton of components. With items, Guardian Angel is the most built item. It definitely is right now, so that's getting quite the nerf. It's going from 400 health to 250 health on revive. This means that slamming early game is not as effective as it was, because 400 health early game on a 1-star, 1-cost unit or something like that is basically a full second life for that carry. But late game as well, only having 250 health when you revive is going to mean that any sort of targeting when that Guardian Angel does revive you is going to mean that you're just going to go down even quicker. So I think it's a very effective nerf to Guardian Angel. Morelos is getting a true damage burn from 2.5% a second to 2% a second. However, I don't think that this is really going to affect the effectiveness of this being placed on someone like Kai'Sa. Mainly because of the healing reduction. Now, the burn damage is very strong, but the healing reduction is one of the main reasons this is so good on AoE champions, and I still think that Morelos is almost an instant slam. If you've got any sort of AoE in the early game, Morelos is still super strong to just chuck on anyone. Rapid Fire Cannon total attack speed is going from 50 to 60%, just to give it a little bit of an extra edge. It would be kind of cool if that even gave extra range as well on top of that, but, the 1 extra square range is still okay. Sunfire Cape proc rate is going from 2.5 seconds to 2 seconds. This is going to mean that the difference between Morelos and Sunfire is a little bit closer to each other, although the true damage burn is being lowered there as well, because they just don't want as much true damage burn coming from these items. ZZ Rot in Stage 2 is getting unchanged, but in Stage 3, 4, and 5, there are some health buffs to ZZ Rot Portal right there. I still think it's a very strong item to slam on, but it's even stronger now, especially getting into the late game on some sort of tank or pseudo-tank or semi-frontline to really be able to allow your carries to stack up any sort of, Archangels or is still Kai'Sa, get those stacks up, or, any sort of carry. It's just going to mean they're going to stay alive a little bit more. Now, there's a couple of small changes coming through as well that we'll quickly zip through, and then I'll talk about the meta predictions at the end, which I've kind of talked about a little bit here. But Shrug It Off max health regen is going up by 0.5%, which is going to be really, really nice for bruisers. Smoke Bomb Tooltip now properly reflects the damage reduction applied to the excess damage from the instance damage that triggers the stealth, and the damage reduction goes from 100% to 80% right there. So a little bit of a nerf to that one, and Sunfire Board and Weak Spot are no longer mutually exclusive. So you can actually get Sunfire Board and Weak Spot in your comps and in your augments. Metamorphosis trait attack damage and ability power growth is going from 1 to 2 to 2 to 4, which I think is a much needed change for the mutant Metamorphosis. And there's a couple of smaller changes to champions here as well. Garen, a little bit of a buff. Graves, a little bit of a mana buff there as well. Illaoi getting a buff to both her healing and her damage. Kassadin getting a little bit of a nerf to the damage reduction, and a buff to the duration of the damage reduction. And Twisted Fate getting a little bit of a nerf there as well, because he was a very strong, especially 2-star unit with Morellos. Kog'Maw is getting a small nerf. Talon is getting a small attack speed buff. And Zillion is getting a small slow duration buff there as well. Echo is getting a damage increase, which I wasn't expecting. Lissandra is getting a damage increase. Samira getting a health increase, and Vex getting a health increase there as well. Orianna with a max mana buff. Scion Decimating Smash duration is going up at 1 star to 2.5 seconds. And the damage is being increased at 1 star there as well, just to make him a little bit more powerful at 1 star. And Yone with a 50 health nerf all around right there. Victor is getting a max mana buff of negative 10 mana, and Chalice of Power bonus ability power is getting 5% increase, and Static Shiv bonus attack speed is going from 15% to 10%. Hyperroll, the only thing that's happening with Hyperroll, if anyone's interested, is ZZ Rot is getting small buffs in most of the stages, and then there's a few bug fixes coming through here as well, which I won't really focus on, but I will just now kind of tie this video in a little bit of a bow and just talk about my predictions, which I kind of already have talked about. Now, I do think that the nerfs to Kai'Sa and the nerfs to Morellos and the nerfs to GA are going to mean that it's not going to be as powerful, but I do think the unit itself, the Kai'Sa unit, along with Morellos, is a combo that is almost applicable to all comps. Now, I don't think it's going to be as important to get 2-star and rely on Kai'Sa as your primary damage, but Kai'Sa is just so effective at applying that burn damage and that healing reduction that Kai'Sa is still going to be picked for these reasons. GA as well, even though it's getting the health recovery nerf, GA is still so strong on certain units, such as your Urgot, such as your Yone, people that when they die, their abilities still cast. This is happening on Kai'Sa as well, this happens on Victor. When they die, for example, Urgot's Purge still keeps ricocheting onto enemies, Yone's Clone still keeps damaging enemies. GA is one of those problematic items that will always be strong, and I still think will be one of the strongest items out there. So don't be scared about slamming GA. It's still going to be extremely strong for your primary carry, especially if they have those abilities that continue to cast even when they are reviving. Apart from that, there are some really, really interesting things coming through for Imperials. The damage increase on Imperials is going to be really strong. Once again, Syndicate, I think, is going to be extremely powerful now if you do reach Syndicate 7. Already at Syndicate 5 with Assassins, it was very, very strong. And I do think that this is going to show, especially around the anywhere from Gold to Low Diamond, I think this is going to be a very, very dominating playstyle. that could probably climb you the whole way. That's probably what I would recommend, and I might do a video on Syndicate playstyle at some point as well, because it is one of my favorite traits in the game with a bit of a buff. I'm pretty excited about it. That's all I really have to say. If you think I missed anything, if you think any of my takes were a little bit Monka-esque, please let me know in the comments down below, and let me know what your favorite thing or least favorite thing about this patch is down there. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and until next time, Badger is out.